Hello everyone, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. I'm really glad you guys are here. What a good time we get to have with this one. And today I'm going to take you on a short history ride, and maybe you'll see things the way I do too. Okay, midweek, right? It's second day of the new year and things are popping. Right, I want to do a little bit of economic talk today, but it's really not an economic video. Right, the Dow is still at all-time highs. It's almost at 25,000 on the Dow Jones Index. The S&P, the NASDAQ, everything's at an all-time high. So that covers the tech sector, old school, brick and mortar, everything. All-time highs. Interesting. We're going to see how that goes. What I think is going on is this, it's a funny acronym, FOMO, F-O-M-O, fear of missing out. Everyone is so excited about the stock market. I don't think they see truly the transparency, right, that maybe I have when I look at it. But there's nothing I can say, or any other professionals out there can say. No Jim Willey, no David Stockman, no anybody can say anything to get people to believe that the stock market is in a bubble, right? But let's not talk about the stock market today. Let's talk about what actually controls our economy, our standard of living. And that is oil. Oil is energy, and energy is work. Right? If it weren't for oil, fuel, we wouldn't have tractors, and without tractors we couldn't have enormous farms and mining equipment. You know, where all the work is done. Energy is work, and energy comes from oil. That's where we're at right now. So let's take a quick run back to the beginning of the Obama administration. A couple of interesting things happened right there. Obama said he wanted to see Americans paying a higher percent of their income in energy costs. He didn't word it like that, but he said, yeah, we should have higher fuel prices. And that's just going to hurt the little guy more than anyone else, because whether or not you make $10 an hour, $20 or $200 an hour, you've still got to drive your car an average of 10 miles from your home to your work. You're all going to get about the same miles per gallon, except the guy that makes $200 an hour, he's not going to feel the bump in fuel price, whereas the poor will. So what Obama was talking about way back then was he wanted to see, essentially, the poor people pay for higher fuel prices. Now, back then, what happened? This is the big question I have. And I like to think of things from just a little bit different angle. What happened back then that justified the prices going through the roof, taking me to nearly $5 a gallon for diesel? I was pissed. It nearly doubled. Well, they claimed that it was speculators on Wall Street. Speculators. Right? And they would blame everything. There were fuel refineries that would go down. Out here in California, they'd go down. I'm like, okay, I guess that kind of explains it. Then the refineries would go down in Texas, and my price would go up again. And I thought, that is bullshit. We do not get our fuel in California from Texas. Not when we've got a shit pile of refineries down in the Bay Area. It doesn't make any sense at all. Turns out it was a scam, as far as I'm concerned. So when I think about what happened at the beginning of the Obama administration with energy prices, right, I found out what was going on. So long before I had the Prepared Mind channel, I still did the same thing I do today. I get on the phone, I call people I know, I have meetings, and I have little asides, ad hoc meetings off to the side during breaks and say, what do you guys think of this? And I talk to people who have business experience. And I go, why is the price going up? And we concluded that it was the new technology that was being developed. It had to be paid for. This is back when fracking was starting and it was new. This is back when they were talking about shale oil and it was new. And oil sands up in Canada. They were saying these are energy sources that we need to tap here in the United States. There was big talk back then about peak oil. That is, the cheapest oil had been gotten, and now it's going to get more and more and more expensive to find energy, to find oil, to extract it, to refine it. All of those things were going to cost more. They're going to take more energy just to produce that oil. So the price had to go up. Now, it was amazing. The fucking price went up to $106 a barrel. And it stayed there for quite some time. But there was one problem with that. One big fat problem that reared its head. And that is that we're no longer just the United States. And it's not just West Texas crude that's being bid on. Right? What happened? This is my opinion. Russia happened. Russia supplies Europe with energy. Russia supplies all of Europe with energy. They have Brent crude. And what was happening, because here you have West Texas, here you have Brent. West Texas went up. Well, guess what? This is cheaper energy. Well, it had to go up too. Who makes money off of that? Russia, Vladimir Putin. Putin was making money hand over fist for Russia. They were getting too wealthy. They were making money. They were kicking ass, in other words. It was, for Russia, as far as they were concerned, a financial boom. They were just booming because the price of energy. That created a problem for the United States. It created a national security problem for the United States. They couldn't have Russia making all that money. What are they going to do with it? They're going to rebuild their military. They're going to buy gold. They're going to buy land. They're going to rebuild their infrastructure. And they didn't want Russia to have that. It's a fact. The United States does not want Russia to be prosperous. Why would they want that? Right? When you think of the power mad, literally power mad people who are in Washington, you think that they want their political and economic competitors internationally to do better than them? No, they don't. So they had American energy costs up for a long time. What that did was that helped fund all of those energy prices, those companies that were doing exploration into fracking and exploration into shale oil and oil sands. They got a boom for a while of cash infusion. And basically, they were told, you have to make this work. Get that work done, get it started, start getting the energy out of the ground. And then the prices came back down, right? And Russia, also, right? West Texas came down, Russia came down. Right? Now Putin is just struggling along like the rest of the world, you know, making an honest buck. That's what happened back in 08, 09. Right? American economy couldn't afford energy prices that high. They couldn't do it. But they needed to fund exploration, right? And then they needed to hold their enemies back. Very interesting stuff. Once again, it's not about oil as much as it's about energy and what energy does for us. Energy is transportation. Energy is heating and cooling in our homes and offices. Energy is the lights. Energy is our infrastructure. It does the work for us. We're not pulling buggies with horses. We're not out using tools that are hand-powered, you know, human-powered. Everything is electric now. It's powered by electricity. And we need cheap energy for our standard of living. And we've discussed that a few times. So what's going on today, right now? It's my opinion that Trump is having to pay for his tax cut. So this is a form of kickback. This is just an opinion. It's just a perspective. And as usual, I'm not saying I know the absolute truth. I'm just saying I have my opinion. And it's based on my experience, my memories of what had happened. Recently, just before Christmas, Donald Trump came out and he stood there with Congress behind him. And he said, everyone, Merry Christmas, you get a tax cut. And who doesn't want to keep more of their own money? Everyone's happy. And I remember telling you and expressing this idea that Anwar, why are we talking about oil exploration in Anwar? And I said, it's because we're having crisis over in Saudi Arabia. We're running, peak oil. It's running out. It's getting more and more expensive. I talked about new technologies that are coming on board, but we need to supply our own energy here as we get more and more into this war scenario that's developing, this World War III scenario. We need to have our own energy. So I talked about the Keystone Pipeline, where Canada can send its energy down into the center of our country, down to the Gulf Coast, and then it can be supplied and piped off from there. But when we talk about Anwar, we're looking at a situation similar to what happened at the beginning of the Obama administration. They needed to infuse the energy companies with cash so they could do their exploration and get started. And American energy, anything America, costs more because of our labor costs, because of our regulatory costs, because of our taxation. They can pull oil out of the ground all day long in other countries, and all you got to do is hand a $100 bill to the local bureaucrat and he toddles off. Here in America, it's a bit more expensive. You've actually got to pay your people. You can't just threaten to kill their families to keep them in the oil fields. And I'm exaggerating grossly. You guys should understand my sense of humor. I hope you do. Anyways, we have expensive energy to get. And if we're going to start developing in Anwar, they know the oil's there, but they got to go there and get it. They've got to run a pipeline over there that meets the Alaskan pipeline that takes oil down to Valdez, down to southern Alaska, where they pump it onto ships and then bring it over to the West Coast. That's going to take a lot of money. How are they going to pay for it is the question. They need energy costs to rise. They can't do it on $50 a barrel oil. There's not enough margin in there to pay for the infrastructure. So what do they need to do? There is big talk about oil going up to 80, and I'm calling for, once again, $100 barrel, which is going to increase our costs at the pump. Yes, indeed, they're going to raise those costs. That's what I'm predicting. And I've seen the experts now predict 80 as well, and up to 100 as well. Why? Well, they're going to make a ton of money, and they're going to put it into the development of Anwar to get energy created here in America. Because of the same exact thing that I talked about 1 year ago when Trump was being elected, and I said his energy plan requires domestic or North American production and distribution, and not coming from the Middle East. We've got huge problems in the world with war. Everyone knows about North Korea. The problem there. Where are our other war areas? North Korea it's like the thumb. It's not really related to these others. But here we've got Ukraine. That was about energy, believe it or not. About Russia getting its energy through pipelines, through Ukraine into Europe. Then you have Syria, another war about energy and pipelines and control of energy in the Middle East. Then you have the problem we've been discussing, Saudi Arabia. They're running out of oil. And where is Saudi Arabia trying to resupply their own shelves? By fighting with Yemen. Do not forget about Yemen. Saudi Arabia is basically in a war with Yemen to steal their oil for themselves. So you've got 4 out of the 5 potential World War III, how do we phrase this? Flashpoints, I think is a great way to put it. And people go, well, that's North Korea and that's Yemen, whoever. You can't even spell Yemen, even though it's 5 letters. And Ukraine, who cares? But if you talk about insignificant events that lead to World War, we can talk about the Archduke Ferdinand. World War I. Some second-rate aristocrat in some backwater European country gets assassinated and we've got World War I? If that can cause that, why couldn't a major incident in North Korea, Yemen, Saudi Arabia, Syria, or the Ukraine cause that? It can, and it nearly has. It nearly has. The reports I have from people who are in the military is we came awfully close a few times, as in men being put on alert, right? Grab your rifle and get your ass over to the truck. You're going to war. That sort of thing. Now, what else do we have going on? Right now, right, we need energy prices to go up. We, meaning the corporations, so they can build their pipeline, build their infrastructure in Anwar, which is really damn close to the North Pole. I think it's in the Arctic Circle. It's fucking cold up there. There are no major cities. Supplies are a bitch. Work is difficult. They need a lot of money, and they have a short window of time to get it built in. So they need the energy costs higher. What causes energy costs to go higher? That they can sell to you, the American people. Oh, we've got conflict in Iran. That's a good reason, and that's what I read today. Oil prices shot up, almost $2 a barrel. It went past 60 and almost hit 62. Who knows where it's at as you're listening to this right now. But they are using what's going on in Iran as an excuse to raise the price. So even if the CIA has no intention or belief that the people in Iran want freedom and are pissed off at the government, they're going to use that as an excuse. Could they be fomenting this sort of behavior in Iran merely to create the diversion and the worry needed to get the price up on Wall Street? If I was a day trading guy, I would be putting my money in oil. In fact, I would have had my money in oil back at 50. Back when it crossed 50, I said it's going to go to 60 and it's going to go up. But I'm not that kind of guy. I believe that is just gambling and speculating and taking other people's money. I don't like that. But that's just me. Anyways, they need that price up a lot higher. And they're going to use everything as an excuse they can in order to get there. We've got some serious problems coming. Economic hardship is coming to North America, to Europe, to Japan, to China. It's going to get rougher, folks. That's why we're preparing for shit to hit the fan, in case we have a major event that disrupts our way of life and puts us at a great risk, for losing our very lives. We could lose our jobs. We could lose parts of our infrastructure. We've talked about this ad nauseum. Grid down, water down, fuel down, food down, government down. Terrorism. Who knows what's going to happen? We just know it can happen. The likelihood is getting bigger every day as we see these world conflicts ratchet up in pressure. It wasn't that long ago that Prince Salman in Saudi Arabia did his purging, where he had arrested members of his family, basically people that would compete for him or with him for the royal seat, the crown. Why? Because they are acknowledging they're in trouble financially and that they're trying to turn Saudi Arabia into a corporation that's publicly traded, and they're trying to get people to invest in it. I don't know who's going to line up for that, but they're out there, right? And that's why Saudi Arabia is going after Yemen. We have an energy crisis that is developing right now. And people say, well, what about Venezuela? There's a huge oil reserve down there. Yes, it is, but it's not sweet crude. It's heavy. And it's not easy to get to. It's very expensive and difficult to get to. There's a lot of it, but it's expensive. And it takes a lot of energy to refine it. So it's not as inexpensive as the oil in Anwar. And again, let's look at Anwar. 40 years. 40 years of fighting in Congress in Washington, D.C. for whatever reasons. Caribou, antelope, moose, yeti, Bigfoot's second cousin, the tundra, the wildlife preserve, no touching that. All of a sudden, members of Congress went, now is a good time. There's got to be a real reason to overstep all of the environmental protection objections that they had. The pristine nature of the Anwar Reserve. It comes down to life and death here in the United States of America, on the continent, the contingent 48 states. There's a problem, and it's coming. And it's not being talked about loudly. It gives you and it gives me one more reason why we need to be prepared. Energy is a crisis issue. And again, that's what Ukraine was about. That's what Syria is about. That's what Iran is about. That's what Saudi Arabia is about. That's what Yemen's about. That's 5 different things. Right? The fight in Congress is over. They're going to Anwar, and they need to fund it. They need your money. They need the oil price to go up. So my caution is, get ready for higher prices. I would be shocked if we don't get as high as 80. And I will be shocked if it starts to go back down, considering everything else that's going on in the world. And my prediction that they have a new type of energy that they're developing that's based on some sort of new technology, because they are doing a soft disclosure on UFOs and aliens. Smoke and mirrors, obfuscation, lies, tricks, deceit, you bet it's all out there. That's your government for you, right? That's the governments of the world. Lie to us, bullshit us, as long as we're willing to pay the fucking price. Pay the bill and keep working our ass off for them and pay their taxes. They got no problem telling us all kinds of shit. The best we can do is use our intuition. Look what's going on, look what's happening, and understand causality. This causes that. For that reason over there, things are happening over here. We can see the cause and effect, causality. You don't have to be the Merovingian from the Matrix to get it. It just takes a little bit of thinking, a little bit of time, a little bit of perspective, and a couple sips of scotch. And you can start to see why they're doing what they're doing. On the tail end of this video, I want to throw out there, again, this new technology is supposed to involve silver. The other thing that has been historically accurate is as oil goes, so goes the price of silver, precious metals. Silver peaked back in, was it 2013? It almost hit $50 an ounce, but it was down. I mean, that was a peak, a spike, but it was down around 36, 40. And then they cut the price of the oil, right? And it came back down. Everything ended up coming back down. They got it under control. They're trying to keep precious metals under control. They're not going to be able to help themselves, though. We're going to have a run on precious metals if the cost of oil continues to rise. Because if there's one thing we're talking about, it's the work that has to be done by engines, which are run on fuel, which is energy, in order to mine silver, gold, other elements out of the earth, other metals like copper and steel, cobalt. It takes a lot of tractor power. It takes a lot of energy to do all of that work. And so that's going to cause the price of commodities to rise, including the price of food. Because as energy costs go up, food costs go up. Not only for delivery and for processing, but for farming. They have tractors and they have costs, and they have to pass those expenses on to the consumer, which is you and me. So as we see this energy cost go up, expect to see the cost of living go up. Now, I just got all the way through saying all of that, and guess what? This is where your tax cut comes in. You're not going to be cutting a fat hog. We're not all going to Hawaii. We're not all going to Disneyland. Your tax cut is going to help pay for that expensive oil. We'll be lucky, you and me, if we get out of this on a push. And that's why I started this video by saying Trump has to pay to play. Yes, he got us a tax cut, but he also probably had to promise that oil costs have to go up. He couldn't just open up Anwar, have our cost of oil, gasoline, diesel double, and not cut us a fucking break, especially the poor people. And by poor, I mean working poor. There's people out there living on $18,000 a year, $15,000 a year, less. I don't know how they do it. I have no clue. 2 or 3 families living in an apartment, I don't know. And I frankly, I don't want to know because it makes me sad. But we can't expect them to pay for all of this that's going on. And so Trump got a tax cut. And I think that's a good thing. But I expect there to continue to be a change in the world that we live in. And so we need to be on our toes. We need to improvise, adapt, overcome. We need to do that. You need to have that mentality, the ability to adapt, improvise, to see what's coming, use our intuition, share our knowledge with each other. And again, that's what I'm doing here. When I tell you to have food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, you have to couple that with a plan. And so I come here and I do talk to people all day. Talk to Chris quite a bit this morning. He's one of my guys I like to talk to. I like to push ideas off of other experienced businessmen and find out what is going on, get their opinions, and figure out, decode what is going on out there so you and I can be better prepared for what is coming. Because chance favors the prepared mind is yours. Godspeed to you all. Semper Fi. Keep your eyes open. This year started off with a fucking bang. Fast, hard. We're going to get one hell of a show for the taxes we pay, that's for sure. And hopefully shit doesn't hit the fan. But if it does, you and I are going to be ready. We're going to have the best chance, the best odds of getting through this. So take prepping seriously. Take prepping seriously. And if you need any help with that, go to ThePreparedMind.club. We've got forums there. We're now going to have live chat back and forth, chat boxes. It's going to be great. Jolene is doing a fabulous job as the admin over there. She's working her ass off, getting all of this ready for you guys so that we can all talk. We're getting to real-time chat as well as blogs, everything. Everything. So take advantage of it and use the store. Shop at ThePreparedMind.club to get the best prices you can. I'll see you guys later.